Imagine you are standing in your kitchen on a regular Tuesday morning, reaching for the small, white pill that you've been told is your lifeline. You take a sip of water, swallow, and go about your day, believing you are doing the absolute best thing for your heart and your longevity. But what if I told you that the very medication designed to protect your cardiovascular system might actually be the silent architect of your fatigue, your brain fog, and a slow decline in your metabolic health? Today, we are going to peel back the layers of medical narrative that has been accepted as gospel for decades. We are talking about the most prescribed class of blood pressure drugs and why the medical community is starting to ask uncomfortable questions about their long-term impact on your energy, your blood sugar, and your overall vitality. If you or someone you love is currently managing hypertension, this conversation is not just important, it is essential. Before we dive into the science, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you never miss a deep dive into your health. If you are currently taking blood pressure medication, leave a comment below telling me how long you have been on it and if you have noticed any changes in your energy levels since you started. Your experiences help us build a better picture of reality beyond the textbook. My name is Dr. Harrison Blake, and for the past 15 years, I have dedicated my career to parsing through the clinical data to find the intersection between conventional medicine and true functional wellness. My goal here is simple: to empower you with the knowledge you need to be an active participant in your own health journey, rather than a passive observer. Throughout these 15 years, I have seen thousands of patients struggle with the same cycle of high pressure, prescription, subsequent side effects, and eventual exhaustion that comes from living in a state of chemical imbalance. To understand why this is happening, we have to look at how we treat high blood pressure. When your doctor diagnoses you with hypertension, the primary goal is to lower those numbers. It is a logical, data-driven approach. Most often, the first line of defense prescribed is a beta blocker or a thiazide diuretic. These drugs work by blocking specific receptors or flushing excess sodium and fluid from the body to reduce the load on your heart. It works. The numbers on the monitor drop, and your doctor breathes a sigh of relief. But here's the secret that often gets buried in the fine print. Hypertension is a symptom of a systemic issue rather than a disease in itself. When we artificially force those numbers down without addressing the root cause, we are essentially turning off the fire alarm while the house is still smoldering. Let us consider the beta blocker. These medications work by blocking the effects of adrenaline on your heart. They slow your heart rate and lower your blood pressure, which is fantastic during a cardiac event or for acute management. However, for a 50-year-old active individual, what happens when you block your body's ability to respond to stress? You lose your physiological flexibility. Your body starts to struggle with metabolic regulation. Many of my patients come to me complaining that they feel like they are walking through mud. They cannot get their heart rate up during exercise. They feel lethargic, and they find it impossible to lose weight. This is because beta blockers can interfere with fat burning and insulin management. You might be winning the battle against the blood pressure cuff, but you are losing the war against metabolic dysfunction. Now, let's talk about the other common culprit, the thiazide diuretics. These are often the go-to for many physicians because they are effective and inexpensive, but they come with a hidden trade-off. They can deplete your body of potassium and magnesium. Magnesium is a spark plug of your cells. When you lack magnesium, your muscles cramp, your sleep quality plummets, and your nervous system enters a state of persistent low-grade anxiety. You see the pattern here. You were given a pill to solve a pressure problem, and now you have a fatigue problem, a sleep problem, and a mineral deficiency. Is this really protecting your heart in the long run? I want you to visualize your cardiovascular system as a complex plumbing network. The pressure in that system is influenced by the elasticity of your arteries, the volume of your blood, and the resistance posed by your nervous system. When we use medication to squeeze the pipes or dump the water, we are not fixing the integrity of the pipes themselves. We are not addressing why the arteries have become stiff or why the nervous system is stuck in a state of chronic fight-or-flight response. The secret, which is not really a secret at all but a neglected truth, is that hypertension is often a condition of lifestyle, nutrition, and nervous system regulation. Let us break this down into 3 clear pillars that we can actually influence. First, we have to talk about insulin resistance. Most people do not realize that high insulin levels and high blood pressure are two sides of the same coin. When your insulin is chronically elevated, your kidneys retain more sodium, which increases your blood volume and raises your blood pressure. If you're taking a pill to lower the pressure, but you are still consuming a heavy diet of bread, pasta, and sugary snacks, you are fighting a losing battle. You are asking the medication to do the job that your biochemistry should be doing naturally. Second, let us look at the role of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a gas produced by your body that keeps your blood vessels relaxed and flexible. As we age, our ability to produce nitric oxide naturally starts to decline. Many of the medications we use to force blood pressure down essentially fight against the mechanisms that would otherwise help your vessels stay open. Instead of relying on a drug to force them open, we should be nourishing the endothelium, which is the inner lining of your blood vessels. This happens through movement, through adequate hydration, and through the consumption of leafy greens, which are rich in nitrates that convert to nitric oxide in your system. Third, we have to address the nervous system. If you are a busy professional or you're dealing with the stress of family life, your body is likely locked in a sympathetic nervous system state. This is the fight or flight mode. It keeps your blood vessels constricted, which keeps your blood pressure elevated. If you take a pill to bypass this signal, you are ignoring the fact that your brain is constantly telling your body to stay on high alert. We need to implement practices like breath work, meditation, or even simple walking to signal to your nervous system that it is safe to downshift. When you downshift, your heart rate naturally slows and your vessels naturally relax. I have seen countless patients come into my office feeling discouraged, thinking that their health is predetermined by their genetics or their age. They feel like they are just waiting for the next prescription. But when we shift the focus toward optimizing metabolism, balancing minerals, and calming the nervous system, something incredible happens. They start to get their energy back. They start sleeping through the night. Their blood pressure begins to stabilize, not because we force it down with a sledgehammer, but because we create an internal environment where high pressure is no longer necessary. Now, I want to be very clear. I am not suggesting that you throw your medications in the trash today. That would be dangerous and irresponsible. Your blood pressure medication is a tool. It has purpose. The danger lies in relying on that tool as a permanent crutch while ignoring the underlying architecture of your health. The conversation you need to have with your doctor is not about stopping your medication immediately. It is about asking how you can reduce your dependency on it through lifestyle changes. Ask your doctor about your insulin levels. Ask about your magnesium status. Ask if there are alternative approaches that do not come with the baggage of systemic exhaustion. Imagine a life where you wake up feeling refreshed instead of needing 3 cups of coffee just to feel like a functioning human being. Imagine a life where your blood pressure is controlled not just by a pill, but by the fact that your metabolic system is humming along efficiently. This is not some abstract dream. It is a reality of thousands of people who decided to stop looking at the symptom and start looking at the systems. We have been conditioned to believe that health is a product of modern medicine, but true health is a product of biological alignment. Let us look at the concept of curiosity. Why are we not asking more questions about why our bodies are reacting this way? Why are we so comfortable with the idea that aging means taking 5 different medications? It is time to reclaim your health. It starts with small, daily victories. Maybe today, it is just swapping out that evening snack for a handful of walnuts or a piece of fruit. Maybe it is taking 5 minutes in the morning to sit in silence and breathe deeply. These are not trivial actions. These are signals to your body that you are no longer in a state of emergency. As we move forward, I want you to remember that your body is incredibly resilient. It wants to heal. It wants to find balance. It is constantly trying to maintain homeostasis despite the stressors we put on it. When you feel tired, when you feel sluggish, when you feel foggy, your body is talking to you. It is trying to communicate that the current strategy is not working. Do not ignore that message. Listen to it, honor it, and most importantly, take the steps to change the trajectory. We have covered a lot of ground today, from the hidden side effects of common medications to the fundamental physiological levers that you can pull to transform your heart health. We discuss how insulin resistance acts as a primary driver for hypertension, how nitric oxide is essential for vessel health, and how the nervous system dictates your vascular tone. We established that medication is a tool, not a cure, and that your path forward should involve a partnership with your healthcare provider to slowly address the root causes. If you have found this information valuable, I encourage you to share this video with someone who might be struggling with the same issues. Sometimes, the most transformative health advice is simply the permission to ask more questions. Your health is your most valuable asset, and it is worth the effort to understand how it truly works. Thank you for being here with me. If you have any specific questions about the topics we discuss, leave them in the comments below. I read as many as I can, and often your questions become the foundation for our next deep dive. Remember to subscribe, share this message, and join me in this journey toward deeper, more meaningful health. You have the power to change your story, one day, one habit, and one informed decision at a time. I look forward to seeing you in our next session, where we will continue to explore the science of living well. Stay curious, stay healthy, and keep taking those small steps toward the life you deserve. Before we officially close this chapter, I want to take a moment to address something that often lurks in the background of every health conversation, but rarely gets the spotlight it deserves. We have spoken extensively about the biological mechanics of your heart and the vascular pathways that keep your energy flowing. Yet, we must acknowledge the silent architect of these processes, the circadian rhythm. Most people view their health through the lens of what they eat or how much they move, but they completely overlook the internal clock that dictates when every cell in your body repairs itself. When you are chronically sleep-deprived or inconsistent with your light exposure, you are essentially asking your cardiovascular system to run a marathon in the dark. Your heart rate variability, a key indicator of autonomic nervous system health, takes a massive hit when your internal clock is misaligned. This is not just about feeling groggy in the morning. This is about molecular signals. When you stay up late under the harsh influence of artificial blue light, you are suppressing melatonin and spiking cortisol at the exact moment your body should be focusing on deep, restorative rest. This nocturnal stress is a silent precursor to systemic inflammation, which is a primary enemy of your endothelial lining. To truly optimize your heart health, you need to begin looking at your day as a sequence of environmental inputs. Start by considering the first 30 minutes of your morning. If the first thing you do is reach for your phone and subject your eyes to high-intensity blue light, you are signaling to your brain that the day has begun with urgency. This triggers a cascade of hormonal responses that, over time, contributes to the very hypertension we are trying to mitigate. Experiment with a simple shift. Try to get natural sunlight within the first hour waking. It does not have to be an hour-long hike. Even 5 to 10 minutes of standing outside, allowing the sunlight to hit your retinas, resets your biological clock. This simple act helps regulate the release of serotonin and sets a timer for the future release of melatonin, which will help you fall asleep more easily later that night. A regulated circadian rhythm is one of the most effective, free, and underutilized tools for lowering blood pressure and reducing the baseline stress load on your cardiovascular system. Let us also pivot toward the concept of metabolic flexibility. We touched on insulin resistance earlier, but I want to dive deeper into how your body manages fuel. Many people are stuck in a metabolic trap, where they rely exclusively on glucose for energy because they are constantly grazing throughout the day. When you never allow your insulin levels to drop to a baseline state, you are perpetually in a storage mode. Your body rarely gets a signal to tap into its own fat stores or to initiate a process called autophagy, which is essentially the body cleaning out its broken parts. This is why intermittent windows of fasting can be so profound for heart health. By simply narrowing your eating window, you provide your cardiovascular system with a much-needed break from the digestive process. Digestion is a taxing event. It requires blood flow to the gut, it alters glucose levels, and it keeps your autonomic nervous system in a state of sympathetic activity. By giving your body 12 to 14 hours of rest from food, you allow your blood vessels to relax, your insulin sensitivity to improve, and your heart to operate with greater efficiency. I also want to touch upon the importance of movement as a form of medicine, but specifically through the lens of Zone 2 training. Often, when people hear the word exercise, they think of high-intensity interval training or heavy lifting designed to reach total exhaustion. While those have their place, The most critical zone for long-term heart health is the one where you can still hold a conversation, but you feel like you are working. This is zone 2. It is a steady-state aerobic activity that strengthens your mitochondria. Your heart is a muscle, and like any other muscle, it thrives on consistent, moderate challenge. It does not need to be pushed to the brink to grow stronger. Instead, it needs a repetition of steady rhythm. When you engage in this type of movement, you're forcing your body to become more efficient at burning fat as fuel, which in turn reduces the oxidative stress that would otherwise damage your arterial walls. It is a slow, methodical build, but it is the most sustainable way to lower your resting heart rate over time. As we move forward, I challenge you to stop viewing your health as a destination that you reach once you drop a few pounds or get a good report from your doctor. Instead, view it as a practice, much like learning to play an instrument or mastering a craft. There will be days when the practice is easy and days when it feels nearly impossible. There will be times when you fall back into old habits. And the beauty of this journey is that you can always reset. You do not need a perfect week to make progress. You just need a conscious decision to make the next choice a better one. If you had a stressful day and skip your movement, do not let that turn into a stressful week. Simply wake up the next morning and prioritize the sunlight, the hydration, and the rhythm that brings you back to center. I want to emphasize that none of this replaces the necessity of a strong relationship with your medical team. My goal here is to give you the language and the framework to have better, more informed conversations with your physicians.